Welcome back to Console Memories. And we're looking at three of my rarest Nintendo games. I actually have DuckTales 2 somewhere. And what you're hearing is Orange Ocean from Kirby's Adventure, which I used to think it was his first adventure, but I forgot about his very first appearance in Game Boy. But that handhelds will be another series, another time. Now, the NES was the first system I owned because my sister owned the 2600, the Atari. And I didn't have a Commodore 64, so I got it when I was 10. That was 1988. And the first games I had were Donkey Kong Jr., Mario Brothers, and then Super Mario Brothers. So basically the first four of the Black Series. And I remember some games I got on my birthday, like The Legend of Zelda. I remember that was in a Fedco. I talked about Fedco and The Legend of Zelda. And I had so many games, and I got so many games throughout the years. I even got Wario's Woods, the final game. I know there was a Sunday Fun Day religious game, I think. But as far as I'm concerned, Wario's Woods was the last of the Nintendo games, the NES games. Now, most of you kind of see these things as sort of a funny thing, like the Goldbergs might talk about it, or Back to the Future reference, or some tongue-in-cheek joke. But the truth is that you go back to those commercials. Nintendo, now you're playing with power. I was introduced to the Zapper, even though the Zapper was like 20 years old technology by the time I was like around. I was introduced to the light gun, the power pad, the U Force, which was like a black sort of a plastic thing where you moved your hands. U Force, right? You punch Mike Tyson, right? And the Power Glove, which was in fucking like it was in two movies, right? Wasn't it in The Wizard and it was also in Blue Beetle? Like, what was that about? And I got so many games. That was my whole world. I think the biggest, most memorable times of the Nintendo for me was 1989. And it was I kind of filled the void a little bit after my brother passed away. My brother passed away in 87. I didn't get a Nintendo until 88. And the games I can remember very well were Simon's Quests, Jaws, Super Mario Brothers 2, Batman, TNC Surf Designs, Spy versus Spy. I'm trying to figure out other ones. Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. And a lot of those games were highlighted by Nintendo Power. Now, long before Nintendo Online, I subscribed to a magazine where I would see pictures of screenshots all stacked together. We didn't have IGN, we didn't have internet kiddies, no YouTubes, no Twitch streamers, no influencers. We just had magazines of what the levels would look like. And you would not see the last levels of a game because it would have in these POW panels, right? The POW panels, right? Coming soon, the final boss is waiting for you, right? And you'd see like a question mark what the boss would look like. It's a mystery. You have to buy the game and find out what the boss looks like. So the final boss is always waiting. Later on, I would get like back games. I would go to stores and get back games. I think maybe DuckTales 2 was the final game I got in recent memory. DuckTales 2. I'm not sure if I got anything else. Bonk's Adventure I chanced upon. I didn't pay like current market price. I paid like $20. Now it's worth way more. This aftermarket's brutal. I'm trying to think of what other games did I get on the NES. What was the last one I got? I can't even remember. I don't even remember anymore. Because my NES is old. I have like, it's hard to get that screen to work. I don't have an HDMI compatible thing. I'm sure I can get a Retro Duo and make it work there if I want to. Would be interesting to try. Because the Retro Duos work with Nintendo and Super Nintendo carts. So, but that was my whole world. I got bad grades in school, and I'm going to admit this, and I had to have my NES taken away by my parents, which was, to me, looking back at it, it was half the work. It was a good decision, but it was not the right decision. When you take away something from a kid, you got to replace it with something that's healthy for them, right? That does the same thing, but it's healthy for their mind and their body. Video games, to me, were an escape. It was an escape from the real world. My abusive father who would use the belt on me, who would pull me by the hair, by the roots, pull me by my ears. him and his damn dogs that I couldn't stand, his big crazy dogs. My mom and her bitching and complaining, my sisters fighting about who was better. I just wanted to get away from it all. I wanted to play Jaws. I wanted to play Go-Go 13 or Zelda 2 or Gremlins 2 or Batman 2 Return of the Joker. Just something to get away from it all. Battletoads. I mean, I just long for those days I can go back and just go back and play those games. Battletoads Double, even though Battletoads Double Dragon wasn't loved by all, it was still fun to play. The first two Bart Simpson games. Remember when The Simpsons was all about Bart Simpson? Bart Simpson versus everyone else. Now it's just kooky shit. It's just everybody in Springfield. Just dumb jokes all the time. Because Bart Simpson was, I mean, if they had played up the narrative that Bart Simpson was actually going to go to juvenile hall and it was focusing on Bart Simpson in juvenile hall, then it would have been an evolution of our perception of what The Simpsons was in '89. So I kind of missed those days, but not really. So I had my NES taken away from me until I had better grades in school, which was the 6th grade or 7th grade. And that was about, what, 4 or 5 months? Yeah, it was a long time. And then at some point, I think my NES just stopped working correctly. I would get green screen, black screen, green screen, black screen, green screen, black screen. And that's on top of having to, take the cartridge and blow into it and make sure it works. Okay. Now I can play DuckTales on my Steam Deck. I can play all the Disney afternoon games on my Steam Deck, but I have the originals. Now, and even though there's a store that has collectible old NES games and old Super Nintendo and imports. Now you have to be fucking careful with these reproduction cards and stickers like that. So I still have my NES. I still have all my cartridges. The only thing that got sold, regrettably, was the ROB, because I never looked at it. I never touched it, which was a shame. And the Power Glove. Those two things got sold. Yes, I know. When did we sell that? 94, 95, somewhere in there. 93, 94, 95, it got sold. Because I just didn't see the point of the ROB. Now most people will be like, wait a minute. Hey, relax. Relax. You weren't even born. Your parents didn't know how to fuck each other yet when this happened, okay? It was a long time ago. And yes, I do regret the decision. But, it was a different time. But I just knew that when Wario's Woods was advertised in 94 on the Nintendo Power, I knew that was it. It was going to be the end, and regrettably. I think it was an experiment for Nintendo to try to get people to love video games. It was a way to make money, and Color TV 6 didn't work out so well. Game & Watch was for the niche, the elite, who like watches and games at the drugstore. But the Nintendo Entertainment System was special in that this was the thing to combat the Atari. Now, looking back, yes, they did gag a lot of people into working for them only. Nintendo was a very brutal sons of bitches back then. And I do think after Satoru Iwata died, I think Nintendo has become really, really horrific. But the NES was such a grand time. I remember, I'll say who it is. It was one of the, I forget. Yeah, Mr. Steve Benway. Nice guy. He really is. He's really sharp. He knows his ZX Spectrums. He knows his Amigas and Commodores and a lot of retro computers of the past, and even some like in PC games. But he had said that the NES was overrated. He was right, but he was also wrong in that there were still games to enjoy. The NES was not the only kid in town, but it was the only kid in our town. The Commodore didn't have a big enough library to market. Atari 7800 wasn't doing so well. So all we had was the NES. Yeah, well, there's like a Master System, but how many games do they have? By the time 91 came around and Sonic did well on the Sega Genesis, the Sonic on the Sega Master System, Sonic 1 and 2, but that was sort of their farewell. Because after Sonic 1 and 2, that was pretty much it. There might have been a couple of more games. But NES was it. NES was in your face. And NES did well until the Sega Genesis really peaked with Sonic, as I knew it was going to do in 91. But what a time that was. And I just wasn't there for the initial year, and I wasn't there for the Famicom. But and now you can see Famicoms all over the damn store. If you go to a Japanese store, you can find a Famicom. You could put a Famicom in your house. I like it. I like the look of it. Maybe I'll buy one. Maybe not. But these memories are so important. And when I think about the struggle of what you have to get now, all you needed was the NES actually had an internet connection at the bottom of the box, but it was never used. And actually, I like the second model better, where you just take the cartridge and you just jam it in there like the Super Nintendo, and it looked like a little Super Nintendo, but it was an NES too. So unfortunately, I never bought that. That's I think that one's worth more, the top loader. So it's a sad time, just when we have to worry about so much stuff. All you needed was a cartridge. You go to the store, okay? You'd see the cartridge in the box, pay $50, $50, not $80 or $90, $50. You get it, you stick it into the NES and you push the damn button, you turn it on. That was it. Power button's on, ready to go. That was the 80s. And you had cool kids, actors given, but they were cool kids playing games. They weren't millennial looking people with goofy faces and t-shirts with logos on them, like, oh, no, 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 like they could get mugged easily out here in East LA or Boyle Heights or Compton. They get mugged for their shit. It's a different time now. So more videos maybe, but this one will end in 3 2